we have seen the basics of Terraform, workflow of Terraform, and then use cases, benefits of Terraform. So now let's look into the Terraform language, Terraform configuration file, Terraform state file. Okay, so Terraform language. So use the Terraform configuration language to describe the infrastructure that Terraform manages. So the main purpose of the Terraform language is declaring resources. Declaring resources. I'm repeating again one more time. The main purpose of Terraform language is declaring resources which represent infrastructure objects. All other language features exist only to make the definition of resources more flexible and convenient. A Terraform configuration is a complete document in the Terraform language that tells Terraform how to manage a given collection of infrastructure. A configuration can consist of multiple files and directories. And the syntax of the Terraform language consists of only a few basic elements, not too many, not too complex, only three basic elements. So you can see on the screen on left side an image with three basic elements. It begins with a block type, and then arguments, and then expression. That's it. See here, forget about the first block. Here the name block type, and then block label, and then another block label, and then here the block opens. Example, the same example which is written on top as a Terraform configuration language. So I'm explaining here. So it consists of only three fundamental elements. Those are, first one is a block type, second one and third one are block label. Then your curly braces opens up, the block opens, and then inside this is your block body. Whatever you write inside, that is your block body. So there you will have again an identifier equal to an expression. So this is called an argument. The whole thing, you write a number of arguments, argument 1, argument 2, argument 3, and this argument consists of an identifier. It's like a variable name, and then it's equal to an expression, and then your block will be closed. Here if you take this example, resource is your block type, and then block label, AWS virtual private cloud, AWS VPC is a label, and then what type, it's a main label, and then the block is opened, and then inside you have an argument inside the block body, that is identifier is CIDR block, and then this is your expression, and then block is closed. So blocks are containers. You can see this block is like a container, and for other content, and usually represent the configuration of some kind of object like a resource. So blocks have a block type. It begins with a block type, can have 0 or more labels. Sometimes you don't need to put even a single label, but you can have 0 or more label, n number of labels, and have a body. This is your block body that contains any number of arguments and nested blocks. You can have a nested block, a block inside a block inside a block inside a block, a nested block. So most of the Terraform features are controlled by the top level blocks in a configuration file. So this is your top level block. If there is one more block inside this block, a top level block, that's a nested block. So most of the Terraform features are controlled by the top level blocks in configuration file. Then we have argument. So argument basically assigns a value to a name. So this is our value and this is our name. So that's why we call it as identifier. The name is like variable identifier. and then expression is our value. So they appear within the blocks. And then expression, so expression represents a value. Expression is nothing but a value, and either literally or by referencing and combining other values. So they appear as values for arguments or within other expressions. So let's read through a complete piece of Terraform declarative language. So the Terraform language is a declarative, describing an intended goal rather than steps to reach the goal. So the ordering of blocks and the files, they are organized into are generally not significant. So Terraform only considers implicit and explicit relationships between resources when determining an order of operations. Let's take this example which is on your screen. So the following example describes a simple network topology for Amazon Web Services. Just to give a sense of the overall structure of the syntax, structure and syntax of the Terraform language, similar to configurations can be created for other virtual network services using the resource types defined by the other providers, and a practical network configuration will often contain additional elements not shown here. So if you look into this example, so you can see various blocks, and then this is your Terraform block, and after that it's a block type, it's a variable type, and then this is AWS region is your block label. Then we have where another block type, this is completely empty, that variable block type is put empty. Then another variable with base CIDR block, this is your block label. Then you have two arguments inside that, one is default identifier and 10.1.0.0 and /16. If you remember CIDR, IP4, IP version 4, and then CIDR is a subnetting or subnet mask. And then so we have discussed this in networking layers. If you haven't watched that, go back to the networking module and then watch this and get the complete understanding, and then come back, because you should not have any confusion of any kind of topic in DevOps and MLOps. That's the reason I'm telling. So there it's a description. In description we have mentioned /16 is CIDR range definition, such as 10.1.0.0 /16 that the VPC will use. So here if I would like to explain, so what this mean is, as it is 16 means 8 plus 8 once. So the first octet and the second octet defines the network, and then last two octets, the 0.0, this third and fourth octet represents the host. That's what this says. And then we have the another block, that is variable block again, but this time it's availability zones. Here the two arguments basically talk about availability zones. So then the provider block, this is very important. The provider block, who is the provider for us now? AWS, Amazon Web Services. And then argument is region. Here where dot Amazon Web Services region, where you want to launch your instance. Then you have resource type block, AWS VPC, and then main. These are the two again argument, so sorry, block labels. And then one more resource block type, that is AWS subnet type. Here we have to mention about the AWS subnet, and then availability zone, and VPC ID here, which VPC in which virtual private cloud you want your instance, and that information you have to provide here. Then here finally CIDR block again. So we are going to do this practical demonstration using Amazon Web Services only. There is no point of worry. So we will look into this in hands-on Terraform.